All gamblers want to go back to the days before gambling. The sky was so blue at that time. At that time, every penny of the money was his own. The family was so intimate at that time. Friends are all around. Those who have been able to quit after experiencing a gambling are lucky, just like the first people to board the New Year train home. The warm smell of home, the smile of parents, the familiar meals, the fragrance of the bed sheets. People who are betting will never return home, just like two parallel lines, so close but so far away. Negative bets are something that makes all gamblers desperate, no doubt about it. As long as you take the bet again, congratulations, you are not far from the dead. Can you pay off the debt by betting? I won a little, and I lost one day, and I still tried every means to find money to cheat money to gamble. I started to get involved in gambling after I returned from the army. Since I work in a state-owned enterprise, I work generally is relatively free. At the beginning, I just played mahjong with a few friends, winning and losing for 200 or 300 yuan. When I am lucky, I can win 600 or 700 yuan. Most of the time I win more than I lose less. The monthly salary is more than 4,000 yuan, and from 2009 to 2011, it was quite a good income. Gradually, this kind of small fight can no longer satisfy my inflated psychology. At this time, after an introduction from a friend, he started fighting bulls. Because I always felt that I was lucky, I went to open a bullfighting shop with him. The overall process was that I won more than I lost less. I spent my own money, and I could still get through it even though I was a big deal. I remember I don't know where I read a sentence, addiction to gambling starts with winning. If I lose from the beginning, who can continue to be addicted to it? In the second half of 2014, I was taken to play poker by a friend. At that time, I was just getting started and I played very amateurly and lost 20,000 to 30,000 yuan in a row. I lost a bit badly, but I thought this game was really interesting. Later, I was addicted to online platforms and read professional guidance books every day. I gradually lost less. During that time, the company had few special projects and was waiting for work at home. It was nearly a year ago, and the monthly salary was more than 3,000 yuan. At that time, the credit card was over, and the minimum repayment was paid every month. It took a whole year like this. In early 2016, my credit card was almost done, and I started to work normally, and I had spare money, so I went to the scene to start typing again. Maybe it was because I practiced online, the results were made, or I was overwhelmed with luck, and I won nearly 300,000 in those 2 months. After returning the credit card, I bought a new phone. I spent every day in the club. I would play a card when I lacked money. I earned 10,000 to 20,000 yuan a night, which made me feel so good. Looking at the current situation, I am glad that I have never given up on this job at that time, otherwise I would not have the courage to survive. The real trick was in the European Cup in 2016. At that time, I only knew that my friend had a software to buy football and bet on anything. He played very small, and he spent hundreds of dollars a game, which was not as good as a home in Texas. I lost 2,000 or 3,000 yuan in the entire European Cup. But during the process of contact, I always feel that this is traceable and should be able to master it based on my own abilities. I bought it from a friend before, and then I directly found someone to open a separate account for myself. At this point, I will be much luck and smarter than most of the older brothers who have fallen into the trap. I never charge money first, and even if I open an account, I don't give a deposit. It's all credit card. Because the company I led was qualified, I applied for 7 credit cards at that time, and the highest amount was 120,000 yuan, and the total number of 7 was 300,000 yuan. Because I have money, my wins and losses are gradually getting bigger and bigger, but the overall situation is still within a controllable range. This is the point. I have forgotten where I came into contact with baccarat, which is really addictive. At first, like all the brothers, I just wanted to earn a few hundred yuan a day and be repeatedly suppressed. But the desire to bet on dogs is greedy. If you win 500, you want to win 1,000. You want someone to reimburse all your expenses. Slowly, you can't control your winning or losing. Because buying football is settled once a week, sometimes I win 40,000 on Monday by baccarat, and that week will be very comfortable every day. If I lose, then Friday, June and 7 every week will be my pit climbing day. At most, the flow rate in a week can reach more than 800,000. When the dog shit comes, the gambling dogs will feel that they have their phones in their hands. I have them all in the world, and I can't escape this conclusion. One night in 2017, before going to bed, I watched several games and played them all into strings. Unexpectedly, when I got up, my friend asked me for a bank card number and said that I had won more than 300,000 yuan and wanted to settle it in detail. At that time, I suddenly felt that my monthly income of 1 million was not a dream. Although I haven't given up on my job, I have no mood to do it. Every day I just hold my phone and start watching the game and playing Baccarat. The loss gradually starts to be more than the winning ones, and the amount is getting bigger and bigger. But I didn't realize the crisis at that time, and I felt that I could turn over by relying on myself. I would pay back my credit card and go to the club whenever I win, and I would pay my credit card when I lose, and borrow money in various ways. In this way, we came to 2018 in a daze. This year has really been a watershed for me. One night in April, I played more than a dozen games and won 2 games. The others were either out of the water or lost all. Lost more than 100,000 yuan. The friend called me overnight and asked me to stop. The next day I went to take out my credit card, borrowed a large amount of online loan, and filled out my friend's hole. If I get out of here, I can still get through it. But the numbers had covered their eyes, and they only knew that they would keep rushing forward. After earning credit cards, I began to bet on Baccarat in large quantities, hoping that I could lead hundreds of millions of dollars in one night like Mr. Duan in the TV series, and then escape without any hesitation. But reality is cruel. Without turning over, I still lost to nothing. At this time, I did some calculations myself, and the combined debt of online loans and credit cards was already more than 700,000 yuan. At this time, gambling ultimately defeated rationality. I didn't keep any credit cards I could borrow and all the credit cards I could get, and I took out all my own. Then I applied for a Hong Kong and Macau pass and went to Macau to make a desperate attempt. Movies are always movies, and the fantasy of gambling dogs cannot be zero after all. When I wake up, the balance on the account is 0. When I saw that 0, I woke up and found out that I didn't have the fate of the god of gambling. When he was in Macau, he borrowed 30,000 yuan from his colleague. When he heard that I was in Macau, he kept advising me not to bet. The 30,000 he didn't care about was because he was afraid that I would never come back. In the end, I left myself 5,000 as travel expenses, and all of the original contributions were given to the casino. In this way, I returned to the city where I was in a daze, hid in the hotel and brushed all the holes I could borrow. Finally, I raised 30,000 yuan and returned it to the colleague. Then I bought a knife and a wine, and wanted to walk along the river. When I was tired, I sat down and drank a little, and then I gave it to myself. In order to prevent relatives, friends, colleagues and leaders from being harassed, I also sent a message on my moments. If everyone receives a text message or call to ask me, the answer will be unified, I don't know. At that time, the family had noticed something was wrong, and all the relatives called to ask what was going on. I turned off that night because my family and I were not in the same city, so they could only mobilize all the relatives nearby to come out to find me and contacted the leaders of my company. One of the leaders also went to the location where the last signal of my phone was located to call the police. Maybe it's really not my life. I took a lot of painkillers before shutting down the phone. I thought I could get a little easier when I was cut, but who knew I fainted from the drug poisoning. When I woke up, it was already daytime. When my phone turned on, it was full of all kinds of phone messages. My tense heart was relaxed at this time. Maybe I had died that night, so what else can't be seen? My family and relatives came on the earliest flight and settled all the accounts face to face, with the total number being about 1 million. Because the house was demolished, but the one I wanted was a pre-sale house, I couldn't sell it all at once, so my aunts raised 400,000 yuan to help. First, pay back the bank and Alipay, some of the more urgent ones, don't repay the online loans, apply for installments for all the others and pay them slowly by yourself. The company leader also talked to me and told me to take my time. Since I already knew I was wrong, don't go any wrong, and switched me to a relatively high-income area. During work, I have also experienced all kinds of collection and bombing calls to the company, and my family have also experienced it. My psychological pressure-bearing ability is much stronger than before. Now 3 years have passed, and I sometimes even sell it with them, but I have never regained a large-scale bet. Once in the middle, I chatted with my relatives and asked why I was trying to pull me up at that time. The relative said, if something happened to you so big, you must find a way to get money everywhere. In the end, you didn't want to get from us. I have borrowed money and cheated money, so I have joined forces to help you. The same is true for chatting with the secretary in the company. Although this happened to me, basically the whole company knew it. But every time I went back from another place, I never talked about it in front of me, so as not to think too much. Thinking that so far, I have already filled most of my credit cards, and the online loan has basically not been moved. Most of them have been reported to the credit report, and the credit report is also black and it is endless. I have quit gambling, and now I don't even play small cards anymore, and I exercise, read books, and work every day. Now let's wait for the end of the year to hand over the house, sell the house, and then pay back the ones who owe relatives and online loans. My relatives asked me before that as long as I don't go to gambling, I can lend it to me if I don't have money. I would like to warn you guys that it is not shameful to force you to go ashore. What is shameful is to harm the people who really care about you and love you. If you have the opportunity, you must have a grateful heart, face these people, and then face life well, cherish life, love life, and live up to everyone who treats you sincerely.